Good morning, students. Now, today we will be doing your second chapter of business studies book, that is forms of business organizations. So, what does it mean? Forms of business of different types. Here in this chapter, we are going to discuss what are the various types of business are there. The types are sole proprietorship, Hindu undivided family business, partnership, cooperative societies, company, and then we'll come to know about how to form a company or what are the stages of making a company, or in simple words it is just like formation of a company. So there will be learning about some of the special documents which are required to set up a company. Okay, so let us begin. We'll start with the introduction part. Now here, a business enterprise is an organization which is engaged in some business or commercial activity. Every business enterprise is a separate and distinct unit of business. Every business entity adopts some form of business organization to carry out business activities. Business enterprise may be classified into three broad categories. Now, what is an enterprise? A business organization means a group of people working towards a common goal. So that is an organization which is set up particularly for some purpose. Here, there will be organizations like private organizations, like private companies will be there. Why do they set up? Simply to make profits. If you talk about the public enterprises, means the government companies, why do they set up their business? Simply, they want to do welfare. So the purpose or objective can be different for different types of firms. At the same point of time, there will be the different type of mentality in the mind of the people, and due to it, there will be some different type of idea which will come into their mind. Suppose a person is there who don't want any kind of partner, but he want to set up his own business. In this case, definitely he will go for sole proprietorship kind of business. So here, if somebody else is there who want to start a business but he want to contribute little more capital, so what he can do, he can just get a partner and start a partnership firm. So this is how the different types of forms of businesses are there, which you are going to learn in this part. Now first of all, here the business enterprise may be classified into three broad categories, that are the private sector, public sector, and joint sector. Okay, so what is private sector enterprise? Here, the private sector enterprise means the company which are being set by the private players or the private businessmen. Now the business enterprise which are owned, controlled and managed by the private individual are known as private sector enterprises. Now many times we come across such kind of companies which are not government companies, but these are private. Like if you talk about Tata Group companies, like Tata Communications is there, or you can say that Reliance India Limited is there. There is MRF, there is CEAT, there is Ipca Laboratories Private Limited. There are so many companies. Okay, now all these companies basically they are owned by some private individuals, means the private businessman is there, and these are not the entity of the government. Simply they are setting up this organization or this type of business for earning profits. Okay, now here they have given examples of Birla, Tata. So all these are well known entrepreneurs, and all these companies belong to private businessmen. The main motive of this kind of business is earning profit. The second type will be public sector enterprises. Here, these type of companies will be owned either by the central government or by the state government. Okay, so here they are writing the business enterprise which are owned, controlled and managed by the central and state government are known as public sector enterprises. Now these companies, our main motive is the providing service in different areas. Like if you talk about some government banks like Bank of Baroda, Bank of India or Bank of Maharashtra, so all these different types of banks are belonging to the government. So they will even set their branches in the rural areas. Why they are doing it? They're not going to get any kind of premium clients over there, but still they will set up their branch because they are doing welfare. They're simply there in the market because of the service motive. But on the other hand, if you see the banks like ICICI, SDFC, Yes Bank, they will not set many more branches in the rural areas. What is the reason for this? Simply because they just want to earn profit. So they will not set in a area like a rural area because they are not going to get any kind of premium clients over there. So that is the mentality of public sector enterprise. They are doing welfare, service motive is there in their mind, and this is the objective for them. So basically they will go into the interior parts of India as well. So both the sectors are important for the economy. Now here it is very important to note that these are owned by the government or state government or central government, means the stock or shares are being held by the government. Okay, now what are the examples here? So SAIL is there, GAIL, so Steel Authority India Limited. Now the GAIL is Gas Authority India Limited. LIC is the insurance company. Life Insurance Corporation is there. Apart from that, there will be BHEL, Bharat Hindustan Electrical Limited, OIL, Oil India Limited, NTPC, and there are many companies like that. Okay, so all these are public sector enterprises. Now joint sector enterprises. What are joint sector? Here, the business enterprise which are owned, controlled, and mainly jointly by the private entrepreneurs and the government. So here, both the private businessmen and the government join hand and they set up their business. In these enterprises, the day-to-day management lies in the hands of the private entrepreneurs, whereas government control and supervised by its members in the board of directors. Maruti Udyog Limited, Cochin Refineries are the example. So here we know that there are many businesses been set up like Maruti Suzuki business there. So Maruti Udyog Limited is in collaboration with the Suzuki in the automobile sector. So like this many companies are there which are been jointly doing business. Now here what they are doing is here the private businessmen they are also involved, so they'll be taking care of this profit undertaking, like how to get profit from there, and the government will simply control. Actually the government, some people of the government, or you can say the government officials, will sit in the board of directors meeting. So some members of the board of director will be from the side of the government, simply just to supervise the company. So here the influence of the government will also be there in such a type of company. Now let us see the forms of the private sector enterprise. The first form will be sole proprietorship. So what is sole proprietorship? When a business is owned, managed and controlled by a single person, then it is called as सोल प्रोप्राइटरशिप. यहाँ पर एक ही पर्सन है जो कि क्या कर रहा है, पूरे बिजनेस को ओन कर रहा है, मैनेज कर रहा है और कंट्रोल कर रहा है. ठीक है, इसको बोलते हैं सोल प्रोप्राइटरशिप. सिंपल वर्ड यू कैन से दैट वन मैन आर्मी है वो. ओके, नाउ व्हाट आर द फीचर्स? इसका फीचर क्या होगा? फीचर्स ऑफ सोल प्रोप्राइटरशिप. फर्स्ट फीचर यानी कि विशेषता. ओके, रिमेंबर दिस. सो फीचर कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स आर द सेम थिंग. Now single ownership is there. Single ownership means why a single person is the owner. आपको ये सोचना पड़ेगा कि सिंगल मालिक ही क्यों है. ठीक है, here the sole proprietorship firm is owned by a single individual only. All the capital is supplied by a single individual from his own wealth or borrowed fund. अब जो भी बिजनेसमैन है या तो खुद का कैपिटल ला रहा है, अब वो चाहे कहीं से उधार लेके लाया हो या फिर खुद की कहीं से पूंजी लगाई हो, है ना. दे आर सिंपली हिज, मे बी ही इज सेलिंग हिज लैंड और सम हाउस और गेटिंग सम मनी एंड दे देन ही स्टार्टेड हिज बिजनेस. सो डेफिनेटली ही इज कॉन्ट्रीब्यूटिंग द कैपिटल ना, पैसा वही लगा रहा है तो वही होगा मालिक. इसलिए यहाँ पे क्या बोला है, सिंगल ओनरशिप रहेगी. जॉइंट तो होगी नहीं और कोई तो पैसा मिला नहीं रहा. ठीक है, नाउ द सेकंड वन, formation and closure. So there are no legal formalities required to start or close the proprietorship firm. There is no separate law governing this form of business. Only in some causes a license might be required, but otherwise forming and closing sole proprietorship business is very simple. So here we can see that without any more legal formalities, यहाँ पे बहुत सारी legal formalities नहीं लगती. जैसे कि in case of companies you will be have to no, you will have to sign some of the documents like memorandum of association is there, articles is there, you will be writing letters to the SEBI getting approval and all. But here no problem is there. यहाँ पर आपको कुछ ही areas में license की जरूरत पड़ती है, otherwise no license is required. Formalities बहुत कम है और बड़े आराम से इस तरह के business को you can form and close down. अगर चला तो ठीक है, नहीं चला तो you can easily close down with less formalities. ठीक है, यहाँ पे ज़्यादा डॉक्यूमेंटेशन वर्क नहीं होता. नाउ अनलिमिटेड लाइबिलिटी. अनलिमिटेड लाइबिलिटी का मतलब क्या है? In sole proprietorship firm, the proprietor is personally liable for all the debts of the business in the case of business losses. If the business assets are not sufficient to meet the liabilities, the proprietor have to sell this personal properties, pay off the liabilities. Means what are they trying to say here is the liability means देनदारी. Suppose कोई businessman है and he started a business. Now suppose he contributed 5 lakh rupees and he borrowed from somewhere. Now due to some reason हिज बिजनेस फेल्ड, उसका बिजनेस नहीं चल पाया। अब वो पूरा 5 लाख जो कि लोन के रूप में लिया था, ही विल हैव टू पे दैट अमाउंट, वो तो पे करना पड़ेगा। अब वहाँ पे देखते हैं उसकी जो शॉप है, उसको जो भी गुड्स है उसको सेल करके भी अगर जो एसेट्स हैं तो 2 ही लाख रुपए आता है। स्टिल 3 लाख मोर नीड्स टू बी रिकवर्ड फ्रॉम हिम। हाउ ही विल गेट दैट अमाउंट नाउ? अगर कोई बैंक से अगर बोरो किया है, किसी पर्सन से बोरो किया है, तो वो क्या करेंगे, उसके पर्सनल एसेट्स को सेल करेंगे और क्या होगा, उसको जो भी पैसा है वो पूरा लिया जाएगा उससे, ठीक है, कुछ छोड़ेंगे नहीं। सो दिस इज द काइंड ऑफ थिंग विच इज कॉल्ड एज अनलिमिटेड लाइबिलिटी। ठीक है, जितना पैसा बिजनेस में लगाया उसने कहीं से भी लेके वो उसको चुकाना पड़ेगा यहाँ पर, ठीक है। देन आफ्टर दिस, द इंडिविजुअल रिस्क बेरिंग एंड प्रॉफिट recipient, what does this mean? So here single person will be taking risk, it means simple है ना, the single person is there who will be taking risk and all the profit will be his own profit, वो उसका profit रहेगा। Because here what is happening, the single person is taking the risk, then all the profit will also belong to him. So how simple is that? So in the sole proprietorship firm, whole risk is borne by the single individual only. The same thing they are saying, the sole beneficiary of all the reward is one individual only. Simple, इसको यहीं तक करना, ठीक है, सिंपल सी चीज़ है। अब देखो कोई अकेला व्यक्ति कंट्रीब्यूट कर रहा है कैपिटल, तो सारा रिस्क तो वही उठा रहा है, तो सारा प्रॉफिट जितना होगा वो उसका ही होगा ना। तो यहाँ पर कोई भी लॉसेस हो रहा है तो रिस्क एक तरह से बियर कर रहा है, लॉस एक्चुअली रिस्क ही होता है ना, तो वो चीज़ हो सकती है एंड ही इज बियरिंग, दैट्स वाई प्रॉफिट उसका ही होगा। देन वन मैन कंट्रोल, वन मैन कंट्रोल मतलब एक अकेला व्यक्ति सारा कुछ कंट्रोल कर रहा है, उसको किसी और की जरूरत नहीं है, उसकी लिमिटेड मैनेजरियल एबिलिटी है, जो भी उसके अंदर स्किल्स हैं उसको यूज कर रहा है, ही इज यूटिलाइजिंग हिज मैनेजरियल स्किल एंड रनिंग हिज own business. The proprietor is the sole owner of the firm and has full control over it. The ownership and the management lies in the hand of the one person only. Some person or manager may be employed to help the owner, but ultimately control lies with the sole trader himself. Now what happens, see, some helpers can be there in the business, like somebody is there running some kind of big shop and he is having some helpers over there who will show the goods to the customers. So in this case also, actually the business is controlled by one person, some helpers are definitely there, but still that kind of business will be called as a sole proprietor business because single owner is there, he is contributing the capital. Okay, so here the one man control can be seen because he will be simply making all the making or taking all the kind of decisions, okay, of the business. The sixth point is no separate legal entity. Now what is separate legal entity? Here separate entity means what? Here the business and businessman are not separate. But if you talk about the case of the company, like any company from you can say like Hindustan Unilever Limited, so all these companies are basically having a separate identity, like the businessman and business are both separate. It is like businessman is providing capital to the business, and then it is like a responsibility for the business to pay that amount to the businessman. So this is how, if the somebody is filing case, okay, so they will have to file case on the company and not on the businessman, because company is like an artificial person in the eyes of the law. ओके कानून के तहत उसको रजिस्टर करके बनाया गया, जब भी रजिस्टर करते हो किसी कंपनी को तो उसको एक आर्टिफिशियल पर्सन की तरह पहचान बनती है और उसको आप एक तरह से बोलते हो कि उसके साथ आप डील कर रहे हो। जैसे कि आप जब कुछ सामान खरीद के लाते हो, जैसे कि मे बी पॉसिबल आप रेफ्रिजरेटर खरीद के लाए एलजी कंपनी का, तो उसके इनवॉइस पे जो लिखा रहता है वो सब चीज़ें क्या लिखा रहता है उस पे जो भी स्टैंप वगैरह लगते हैं वो किसके, कंपनी के साइड से, कंपनी आपके साथ डील कर रही है, इनवॉइस पे लिखा रहता है कंपनी का नाम, ठीक है, कभी भी यू विल नेवर सी कि उस पे उसके ओनर का नाम लिखा हुआ है, तो एक्चुअली कंपनी आपके साथ में डील कर रही है एंड इफ यू वांट टू फाइल अ केस यू विल बी फाइलिंग अगेंस्ट दैट कंपनी। तो ये होता है सेपरेट एंटिटी, वहाँ पे बिजनेसमैन और बिजनेस अलग अलग होते हैं, बट यहाँ पर क्या है, यहाँ पे नो सेपरेट लीगल एंटिटी मीन्स द बिजनेसमैन एंड द बिजनेस आर वन पर्सन ओनली, ठीक है। तो केस कोई भी करेगा दो का, तो हम केस किसी एक पे कर सकते हैं, कंपनी मतलब किसी पे भी कर सकते हैं, दोनों एक ही है, मतलब आप एक्चुअली बिजनेस पे केस करोगे फिर सुइंग business, then definitely that businessman will be sued automatically, ठीक है। Now sole proprietorship has no legal identity separate from that of its owner, law makes no difference, okay, so just like I said कि law के यहाँ पर कुछ बात ही नहीं हो रही है, लीगल फॉर्मेलिटी है ही नहीं, तो फिर डेफिनेटली दोनों को एक ही माना जाएगा। Now lack of business continuity means what? बिजनेस कंटिन्यू हो पाएगा कि नहीं, वापस देखते हैं। सी, if in the case of the company, suppose Reliance India Limited is there, okay, or Bajaj company is there, suppose the owner dies, like in the case of Reliance India Limited, Dhirubhai Ambani, he died. So what happened, the business came into the hands of the their children, okay, so उनके बच्चों के पास business आ गया। Now if they will die again, the company is not going to end, देखो कंपनी कभी मरती नहीं, क्यों नहीं मरती है? कंपनी नेवर डाइज बिकॉज दिस कंपनी इज अ काइंड ऑफ एंटिटी विच इज क्रिएटेड बाय लॉ, कानून के तहत उसको रजिस्टर किया गया है। इफ यू हैव मेड समथिंग बाय लॉ यू विल हैव टू एंड इट बाय द हेल्प ऑफ लॉ। अगर आपने जिस तरह से रजिस्टर किया है वैसे ही उसको आप क्लोज करोगे, वाइंड अप करोगे कंपनी को, तो ही उसका एग्जिस्टेंस खत्म होता है। नहीं तो डजेंट मैटर, बिजनेसमैन मरते रहेंगे, बाकी वो पास ऑन होती रहेगी, वो चलती रहेगी, जो भी उसके बेटे हैं या फिर उसके बच्चे हैं वो संभालते रहेंगे, है ना। दिस इज हाउ द बिजनेस गोज ऑन इन केस ऑफ कंपनीज, बट हियर इट इज जस्ट सोल प्रोप्राइटरशिप। यहाँ पर सोल प्रोप्राइटरशिप में क्या होता है, इफ सपोज जो भी रन कर रहा है बिजनेस, सपोज ही इज नॉट एबल टू मैनेज द बिजनेस एंड सम ailment is there, and suppose he got paralyzed or he might be dead, मर जाता है वो अगर ओनर है जो भी, so what will happen, the reason because he was the only person who was taking care of that business. Now the problem is कि अब nobody is there to look after the business, because it is not a guarantee that the son will also acquire that business in the end, he will manage everything just like his father was doing, because may be possible जैसे skills father के थे वैसे son के नहीं हो सकते और वो ठीक से manage नहीं कर सकता, so in many cases the business comes to an end. ओके, सो यहाँ पे हम बोल सकते हैं कि बिजनेस कंटिन्यू नहीं होता है। यहाँ पर अगर बिजनेसमैन को कुछ हो जाता है, सोल प्रोप्राइटर को कुछ हो जाता है, तो फिर बिजनेस एंड भी हो सकता है, ठीक है, बिकॉज इट विल बी हैविंग सम काइंड ऑफ डायरेक्ट इफेक्ट ऑन द बिजनेस। नाउ द लास्ट वन इज स्मॉल साइज। ये बिजनेस जो भी रहता है छोटे साइज का होता है। अब ऐसा क्यों है? द सोल प्रोप्राइटरशिप फर्म ऑपरेट्स ऑन अ वेरी स्मॉल स्केल एज ऑल द फंड्स आर अरेंज बाय वन पर्सन ओनली। ठीक है, यहाँ पे जितने भी फंड है कौन अरेंज कर रहा है? बाय सिंगल पर्सन, एक सिंगल पर्सन फंड को अरेंज कर रहा है, ठीक है। Then total management control lies with one person only. A sole trader can arrange the limited fund and has limited managerial ability, therefore the scale of operations generally limited. अब यहाँ पे जो भी single person है, because he is the only one who is contributing in capital. Now what is happening, if a single person is bringing in money, he will be bringing less capital. This is not a partnership, this is not a company kind of form of business. So here only one person is there, so the amount which he is going to bring into the business, it is going to be less. So definitely the business which he will set will also be small in size. At the same point of time, he will be limited in thinking, like with limited managerial ability, so he cannot set a big business because it will be like impossible for him to look after each and every business. Suppose even if he opens many branches in different parts, what will happen, he will not be able to manage because he is the only one who is looking after it. And what will happen due to it, maybe the business which is setting in the different parts, it will not work, or there chances he will be in losses. So he'll be just sitting at one place only and doing or operating from one small unit only. So here the size of the business will be very small. Okay, in the case of companies, what happens, you may have seen that there are many branches, like manufacturing goes on in different places. Like in case of Ipca Limited, Ipca is the company which makes medicine. So in Ratlam also is company's setup is there, Indore also there, then in Ankleshwar it is also there, and many in Himachal also I think one branch there they have set up. So what happened in Mumbai, all these places, they're having different branches. So because there are so many people involved in this process, so their mind is there, the managerial ability is there, and it is possible for them that some of the people will be managing at different places. So this is a kind of a group, okay, this is kind of organization, because lot many people are engaged in one business, that's why they're able to expand that business. But here in sole proprietorship it will be a small business, because there are no many peoples to handle the business nicely. So that's all for today. Okay, so we'll be continuing from tomorrow. From the next topic, we'll be looking at the merits of the sole proprietorship and demerits of the sole proprietorship. So that's all for today. Thank you.